Hi everyone, welcome back to Uke Theory with Matt Stead. In the last two videos we had a look at reading tablature and how to understand the notation in terms of song structure. We had a little bit of a play and we worked out Twinkle Twinkle Little Star so you could have a play along. Now what I wanted to cover in this video are musical notations which are commonly used on tablature, some directions for your music in terms of your playing. And the most common ones that I find I come across when I'm playing ukulele music are bends, slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs and vibrato. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the symbol for those each in turn. So when you see it in tablature, you know what to do. And I won't be able to give you a massive amount of help for them, but I'll give you a little bit of help of physically how to do these things as well. So let's put a note on. Let's say we'll play the 3rd fret of the E string. Okay, just remember as a little indication, G, C, E, A. We'll play the 3rd fret of the E string, which is a G note. Okay, you don't have to know that, but it's useful to know. That one there. Okay, 3rd fret of the E string. Now let's think about what some common little musical directions that you might get on that. The first that I'm going to look at is a bend. And a bend is normally indicated by an arrow coming away from the number and going upwards. Okay, so a bend physically on the ukulele is when you play a note just once and then you physically pull either down, can you hear that bend? Or you push up, okay? Now, which you use in terms of whether you pull down or push up is entirely up to you. Generally, if I'm on the bottom 2 strings, I push up. Because I don't want to come off the fretboard. I find I can kind of pull off the fretboard if I'm not careful. And the top 2, I tend to pull down. But your mileage may vary. It's entirely up to you. Whether you pull down or you push up on those. Okay, and it gives you that kind of. Can you hear that kind of that classic bend sound? Sometimes what you'll find on sheet music or tablature is they'll put a little fraction next to that bend sign, and technically that's meant to be telling you how far to bend. So a half fraction is telling you to bend half the distance to the next string, a quarter of the distance, 3/4, and so on. I'll be totally honest, on a small instrument like the ukulele, I think a bend is kind of open to artistic interpretation, so I wouldn't worry about that fraction too much. If you want to keep the bend going, a common trick, B.B. King used to do this all the time, is to just hit the string once and keep bending. So rather than 1, we can hit it and it creates a little bit of a wave. So that's something you can look at. Bends in music adds a bit of flavour to your playing, especially when you're playing the blues. They sound really nice with blues. Let's have a look at another one, common one that comes up. I'll do it on the next bar along. Let's have a look at vibrato. I'm going to do the same note just for argument's sake. Now vibrato, I'm not very good at drawing vibrato. Hopefully it'll be a bit neater than that. Vibrato is either shown as a wiggly line coming kind of vertically at an angle out of the note. Sometimes it's shown along the top of the note, kind of like an amplitude sign like that. And vibrato is where we add a little bit of wiggle to the note. Can you hear it? It gives it a little bit of wobble. Now generally, how big that vibrato sign is drawn on your piece of sheet music is how wide, how strong you make that vibrato is another way of thinking about it. Now, vibrato, my favourite tip for vibrato is to, first of all, and this is crucial, take your thumb off the back of the uke. So the only thing in touch with your uke is the finger that's actually doing the vibrato. That means it allows your whole hand and some of your arm to move. Now, again, another common beginner mistake that quite often happens is people move their finger from left to right, thinking that's vibrato. But really, imagine that finger's grown roots into the fretboard. It can't move. Imagine I've super glued that finger in on that 3rd fret. And it's just a little wobble of the hand, keeping the arm relatively straight, that gives that vibrato. And it just adds, I think, a really lovely little flavour. It's like adding a bit of salt and pepper to a solo or a phrase. It's one of my favourite things to do because I think it kind of adds a kind of a really nice relaxed mellowness to your playing, which is a really lovely thing. So rather than, you could just adds a little bit of flavour. Let's have a look at another common one. Let's do a slide. Again, common in blues music, this one. Now, a slide in terms of your tablature, I'll start a new bit of tab here just to save time. A slide on tablature is shown by a diagonal line between 2 numbers. Generally, if the number is going lower, the angle of the slide symbol will be going downwards to indicate that you're sliding downwards. But if you're sliding from 3 to 1, in terms of pitch, high note, low note, whoops, it has to be downwards. It's 3 to 1. It's the only direction you can go in. So this symbol here, diagonal line between notes, is telling you to play a slide. And when we play that slide, we hit the first note. Say that I've got the A string there, haven't I? Remember, this line represents your A string, 3rd fret. Now, notice that you only pick the first note, and the second note you still hear, but not through picking, through the slide. Now, a little tip with this one is you need to press quite firmly. As soon as you lift off on that string as you go across the frets, it disappears. Listen. Here. So you've got to push down and really aim for the middle of the next fret. And that will give you a slide. Okay. If you ever have one going the other way, that just tells you the slide is going up in pitch. Notice I've put this on the E string now, okay? And now this one, you're just going to pick with your index finger on the 1st fret of the E string, and you're going to move it up to the 3rd fret. Again, you need that kind of, really put that pressure on, and have the courage of your conviction. As soon as you're not sure, you're like, oh, am I going to hit the wrong one? It disappears. So, and that's your slide. Okay, let's look at hammer-ons and pull-offs to finish off. So there we go. Now, a hammer-on and a pull-off have the same symbol in terms of tablature for ukulele and guitar. And that is, let's do 3 to off. That's a smiley face underneath the numbers, you can think of it as, or as like an upside down rainbow, whatever you want to think about it, as a curve going between notes. Now that would tell you that it's a pull off. And a pull off is when you hit one note and then you only strike once and you lift your finger away and you hear the second note. So I can pick that 3rd fret of the A string. And when I pulled too hard on that one. And as I take my finger away, you hear that A ringing out. Okay. Now I'm only picking once and taking away my finger. Sometimes I can cheat a little if the note decays too much and you can hardly hear it. Sometimes with a pull off, I actually pull the string slightly with that finger as I bring it off, so you can really hear that pull off. 3, 0. Or if I want a more subtle one, I just lift directly up. There's no pull down. I literally just lift up. So it's a really subtle one like this. You can hear the A, but it's a lot more subtle. And that's up to you. Now, this one, sometimes to let you know it's a pull-off, it'll have a P there as well, P for pull-off. Now, a hammer-on, which is often written as HO or just H, is the same thing, but the other way around. So, for instance, you might play an open string and then put your finger down on the 3rd fret. Now, remember, I'm only picking once. And the note that you hear from that 3rd fret going down, that high C it is the force of this finger going down and pushing down on that string. Woo, did something funny then. Now, this is really crucial. When you're doing your hammer-on, it's all about the courage of conviction. You want to push through the string and into the wood. Can you hear that? Now, if I don't have the courage of my conviction and I press quite weakly as I come down, the note is deadened straight away. So hammer-ons have that courage of conviction. I tend to head right for the centre of the fret and give it a good wallop. You can even bring your finger quite far away and give it a good push, and you'll get that nice 2-note hammer-on. Sometimes people ask if it didn't have the P or the HO, because often it doesn't. How do you know whether it's a hammer-off or a pull-off or a hammer-on? And it's kind of obvious when you think about it. If you're going from a higher pitched note to a lower one, or a note to off, it's got to be a pull-off because it's got to pull off. And if you come in from a lower note to a higher one, or an open string to a higher one, it's got to be a hammer-on. It's the only way you can physically do it. So, oh, that's a bad one. So you can see the difference between the two. Now, hammer-ons and pull-offs don't have to be an open string to a note. You could have, for instance, 1, 3 as a hammer-on. We know it's a hammer-on because it's going from a low note to a high note. And what that means is you're going from the 1st fret, I've just moved my hand out of the way so you can see it, and then you're immediately hammering onto that 3rd fret. And notice that I need to have this finger down. Okay, I keep that finger down as I put my 3rd finger down to add that cleanness. 1, 3. Again, encourage your conviction. Now, if that was the other direction, 3, 1, I'd know that's a pull-off. Now, this one's slightly trickier, this one, because what you've got to do is make sure you have 2 fingers down at the start. Because otherwise, when I take away this 3rd one, there's no way I can get that 1st note. So I have 3, 1, I have 2 fingers down, pull off. Okay, now these techniques, hopefully that's allowed you to kind of really refine your tablature reading now, so you'll understand these as they come. But you can put these into your general playing as well. So when you're playing a solo, let's even have a look at Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I'll see if I can remember it rather than writing it out. So C, C, G, G, A, G, or 0, 0, 3, 3 on the E string, 0, 0 on the A string, back to that G there, 3rd fret of the E string. Now what I could do is every time I hit this 3rd fret of the E string, I could add a little vibrato. The next bit goes 1, 1, off, off. I can make the second one a pull off. I could go 1, 1 off, off, 2, 2 off. So you can have an experiment. Could add a little slide down. That was a pull-off, sorry, but I could. See that? So you can add, you could add little slides in here and there. So it's really nice when you get a really basic form of tablature, like something like that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star that we had. Have an experiment with putting these pull-offs and hammer-ons, and you can start coming up with a really elegant piece of music, even with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So just a little bit of vibrato and pull off there, just made it sound a little bit more attractive. So have a go of that. Hopefully that's really helped you with tablature. If you get completely stuck, you can email me at matt@theukeroom.com, or you can join me for one of my Facebook lives. This week I won't be Facebooking live because I'm doing a mini concert at 5 o'clock on Friday UK time. Okay, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep uking, and I'll see you soon. Stay safe. Bye.